Okay, so I'm here live, and I really struggled with this one because I really believe that we all need to be heard and seen. And because of that, we also have to recognize that we're not the only ones, yet others want to be seen too. So bear with me, because I need to approve my own post real quick. So, I'm live in the group today specifically because I want to discuss this post that Mindy posted the other day, because it's gotten a lot of heat and a lot of attention, and there's a reason for this. Whenever we as humans, especially when we're part of a culture, part of a very strong belief society, because guess what? It's called indoctrination. How we should believe and feel and people should act. We project that. So it's really easy to divide us as people when the nation itself is divided. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world. You don't have to like it, but you have to learn to live with it within the parameters that keep you and your joy, you and your life, keeping balance. Because even with the chaos going on around us doesn't mean our lives have to be shit. The stuff out there is a reflection of the internal stuff of all of us. So whatever you're experiencing in the world today, the question is, what is it inside of yourself that you can work on to heal? Because there's an opportunity for growth. And every situation that triggers you, every situation that you feel heated about, that you feel passionate about speaking your truth, okay, now there's an interesting thing in that. And I'm not going to discount or discredit anybody for feeling what they feel, because you need to feel that. The question is, how do you take and harness that energy that is powering it, right behind it? It's pushing it out of you. If you feel passionate, if you can't hold on to your seat, there's something in there for you. There's a healing. Because whatever's motivating you to want to speak your truth is about you finding what your real truth is. Sometimes what we think is our truth is really just our trauma and our pain, wanting to be seen and heard, recognized, accepted, and honored. There's the true facts right there. People want to be seen and they want to be heard. But are they willing to listen first to themselves and to hear what they're even saying? About 90% of what we say is meant for us to hear, not another person. Whenever I speak, and I'm grateful that I have lots of videos, because when I speak, I know there's something that I'm saying that I have to listen to as well. Because I talk out and I learn about myself through speaking, through engaging with other people. Because that's how we learn, is how we relate. Because the way we relate to another is how we're relating to ourselves. We project our experiences, our beliefs, in every situation until they're fully healed and you can find your neutrality. Your pain and trauma is always going to surface, especially when you feel someone is being wronged or victimized and needs to be spoken up for. Because somewhere in you, deep inside, you still feel like your little inner child is not being heard, not being seen. That's not for anybody else to do for you or you to do for others. That's for us to do for ourselves. We all have a hurt, abandoned, struggling, pained inner child. We all have that at some point. And we all need to work on that. We're not here to shame and blame each other, because when we're blaming and shaming others, what we're doing is dismissing an aspect of ourself that needs healing. Real healing in the world isn't going to come from us pointing fingers at other people. It's going to come from looking at the three pointing back that go, whoa, what is it in this situation that I have to learn more about myself? What am I willing to step back and hold back from speaking up on, to reflect upon whether or not it's true, whether or not it's applicable, if I can say something kind about it? Can I actually ask what is it in it for me to glean? What is the wisdom? Because there is wisdom in everything. Everything has opportunity. People we engage with are going to teach us about ourselves. Situations are going to show us where we're at in our life. There is no such thing as a bad opportunity, experience, what have you, or good, because it's just an extreme out of the polarities. When you're neutral, when you're balanced, when you're in your strength, and you feel good about where you're at, you're not going to get triggered. You're not going to feel passionate that you need to speak up to the extreme of being in reality, it's fighting. You know, you don't feel a struggle. When something comes out of you naturally because spirit moves you, that's your truth. Your truth is, oh wow, I really feel compelled to say this because spirit is moving you. You're inspired. Your breath is behind it. Your heart is behind it. It's coming from your navel point, your will and your strength and your conviction about knowing. Know thyself first. And so I'm going to read off her post real quick after I go over this. But one of the things I think is so sacred, ladies especially, because I can only speak as a woman. Women who have circles of other women or good girlfriends that you can speak to. And you know them because, number one, they're not going to repeat what you say. Number two, they're not going to judge you for what you say. They're not going to shame or blame you. They may reflect to you what it is you may need to hear. Or maybe they're just a sounding board and they're willing to just listen. These are true relationships that we women need to cultivate more if you don't already have them in your life. Because a true girlfriend, goddess, sister is going to show up to you and hold you wherever you're at. They're going to hold you through your worst so you can be your best. That is the only way we women grow, is through our relationships with especially other women and others. And men, I'm speaking for men too, but I don't know how men engage. Because here's the thing, ladies, if you want men to grow, you as a woman need to be willing to do your own work, because we hold a lot. In our silence, yes. In our presence, extremely. We are the householders, as Yogi Bhajan would say. And it's a humbling come to, God moment when you realize that I didn't necessarily sign up to take care of other people, as some people will say, right? But the reality is, we're here to take care of one another, to support one another, to uplift them, to inspire, yes, and to empower them. But it can be done in kindness. And if we don't have kind words, it just means that we're not being kind to ourselves. Because whatever comes out of our mouth is whatever is being done to ourselves within. That's just a fact. Because I don't know a kind soul that is unkind outside of themselves. I know a lot of us have pain. I know a lot of us have trauma. We're all working through it. And I don't think there's one person out there that's 100% healed. And I say that for myself. Because I'm human and I have feelings. And your feelings matter. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. It doesn't matter if you felt the need to speak up in this post. Your feelings matter too. And I see you. And I'm not discounting your anger, your feelings about the situation. I'm just asking you to look within and to ask yourself what it was that triggered you, number one, because a lot of people didn't actually read it clearly. They immediately got triggered by a mother. Take a deep breath on that one. And I'm actually going to say that this pains me for my mother. There are a lot of mothers out there who don't dare speak up and talk about their feelings, especially in a crowd of people they don't know, let alone with people close to them. Because as mothers, you're taught you're just supposed to be a mother and you're supposed to be loving and nurturing. You're not supposed to feel bad or ill will toward other people. You're supposed to be the person who holds it all together. You're not supposed to be weak. You're supposed to think of everybody else but yourself. Your children come first. You're supposed to love your children. You're supposed to love your partner. Guess what? If anybody's noticed over the past year, there have been a lot of women waking up and saying, fuck you. I matter too. Mothers are not. I know I'm one of them. I'm not a mother. I have a doggy. I'm a puppy mom. And honestly, I still remember being the child, and I also see my mom's perspective as a mother. But I also feel like I've been a mother in other areas of my life. I've been a sounding board. I've been a mother figure for many people, and I know that. You don't have to give birth to have the innate nurturing self of being a woman. That's a fact. Now, there are a lot of women out there that don't have that, and that's okay too. But nobody should be shamed or blamed. You're supposed to. God forbid. That's what religion's done to us. That's what society's done to it. Cultures and this whole patriarch has done to us women as a whole. Repress us, suppress us, keep us low, keep us down. God forbid, because truly, if we show our emotions, that's our strength. That's what heals. Whatever you're feeling is worth it. It's feeling it to heal it. The only way we as a society, as a culture, as a world are going to heal is if the women in the world heal. Because we will ripple out. And there are many a guru, whatever, because they have their faults too, right? We're all human. There's not a perfect person out in the world. I don't want you pointing fingers at anybody. Because it's not necessary. Anytime we're pointing out at someone else, at a finger at somebody else, you're playing the victim. That's a fact. You're pointing out someone else's faults because as a victim, God forbid you feel weak or being seen. That's a strength. And if you point a finger out, then you won't nobody will notice what you're doing or where your pains lie. When we are bullying, which a lot of what I saw was bullying, are attacking outward. That means there's some serious internal attack going on. And you need to be willing to sit with that and feel it. Let it tear you up. Let it bring you to your, come to Jesus moment, whatever you want to call it. Because that's where the real healing lies. And I really find it is the most important thing that you'll ever learn in life is if you want support, because most of us do, you want to feel loved, you got to be willing to extend exactly what it is you want in return. If you can't show up to others as you want to be shown up to, you're doing yourself a disservice as well as those around you. And as moms, as women, if we're not good with us, what makes us think we can be any good for anybody else around us? And I know there are a lot of amazing moms out there who've been holding it together and haven't even worked on themselves, and they're struggling. And so this past year, I'm watching people drop like flies, like, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do it anymore because they're depleted, because they weren't thinking of themselves first. And instead of self-care, we're talking about like self-nurturing, making it a priority. That's an easy thing to say, but the reality is it takes making you the priority and making time for you. And that's putting it on the schedule, making that window of time for you. It's so easy to judge, isn't it? We do it. We all do it. But nobody wants to admit it. They'll say they're expressing their feelings, but they fail to recognize they're judging. We all judge. The question is, if you're using that judgment to project harm upon another person, and that's ahimsa. That's also like that. Do no harm. Ahimsa isn't just action-wise. It's not just harm somebody physically. We're talking about harm with words. All of us have had an experience where we've said something we wish we could take back or we wish we'd never said. We need to be more conscious and mindful of the words we choose, how we speak, and how we show up. It's first for ourselves. Listen to the inner dialogue. Be willing to go, oh my God, that was me. I'm beating myself up. You know? We all do it. But the minute you are aware of it is the moment you have the opportunity to grow from it. Once you own it, you can grow. And it's not for anybody else's business either. If someone is willing to put themselves out there, God bless them. Give them kudos. Show them your support. That takes a lot of courage and vulnerability. And those of you who don't like what you read, I'm sure there's something in your own internal dialogue that you're unwilling to speak up on and share because you're afraid of the exact same type of reaction and responses that Mindy got. Do unto others as you want done unto you. Golden rule. It's the one thing I absolutely adored from my Catholic growing up, is that it wasn't just a religious rule. It was a human rule. It is a human rule. You want love, give love. You want to be healed, offer assistance and healing. Be willing to sit with yourself. This stuff isn't like overnight success, people. It's everyday work. And it takes some serious courage. And it's crazy. Yes, we dislike ourselves. We go through periods of, I don't like my life. I don't want to be here. Nobody loves me. You know, the world is against me. We become the victim of our circumstances instead of recognizing, oh my gosh, I have a choice. I can speak up, I can step up, and I can make my circumstances better. But it's choice, baby. All of it's choice. So, I'm going to read this post, and I want to know, what do you hear when I read this post? Because when I read this post, I read something completely different than what I saw a lot of HATE on. The reality is I read that she said she loved her son and that she was having trouble liking him. All right, we'll bring this over here because it's easier. So what she said, y'all, this may be long and I'm sorry. I have a 15-year-old son and I do not like him. Yes, love him, but I do not like him. I don't know a mom out there that hasn't had a moment where they didn't like their son. And she didn't really say that she had periods where she liked him, because maybe she did. She didn't go that depth into this conversation. She says, he was conceived while I was in mania. He was not planned. Although my choice to have him or terminate him, I chose not to terminate him. Don't worry, he is well taken care of. But now, have never bonded with him. Even at birth, I asked the nurse practitioner not to hand him to me. I didn't want to touch him. I have tried to overcompensate over the years with my shortcomings of lack of heartfelt love and have turned him into a spoiled brat monster. He has no morals, no love in his heart because of me, and is just now a ruthless, heartless kid. I am seriously now counting down the days until he is 18, and I am no longer responsible for his health or welfare. No mother with a heart should ever feel this way, but I do, and I have. His whole life I love the kid with my heart, but I don't. I do not care for the child. He is taken care of, food, clothes, overcome, ensuring for my feelings. Overcome, enshrining for my feelings that I cannot shake. So she's saying that he's been taken care of, food and the clothes, and overcome, enshrining for her feelings that she cannot shake. What do I do? She's asking for help, for guidance, for support. It says, not mothers should feel this way ever, and I do. I am so focused on the fact that he will turn out like his father, who he hasn't seen in 7+ years, that I just can't embrace trying to change him. I have no motivation to change him because I can't. I can't believe that I have let a monster like him invade my life. I'm totally at a loss. I really don't know how to change my feelings. Now, I have some ideas about this, and I'm not perfect, and no, I'm not a mom, but that doesn't make me any less able to offer assistance or support. Because another thing that I didn't really talk about in this is that we can't change anyone, and we don't know anyone's path in this life. So we have to be willing to allow people, even as much as we hate it, especially as mothers, because you have an actual cord connection, like physiologically you are connected to this child whether you like it or not. They are an extension of your DNA, of your energy, of your being. We are connected to our mothers whether we like it or not, and to our children. And we cannot do everything for them. And sometimes overcompensating is worse. And it does create narcissism. And so can the other extreme. And the unfortunate thing is she's beating herself up about it, not having control. And although I do see where she talks about she's more concerned about him not turning out like his father. And the one offering of advice I would say is my mother never wanted what happened to her as a child to happen to her 3 daughters growing up. But all 3 of us had exactly what happened to her happen. So you have to be very, very aware of your thoughts and how they manifest. I never beat my mom up about that, and I never had that conversation because that's the last thing I would want my mother to feel guilty or bad about, because I know she felt that. As a child, as the oldest of 3 daughters, I love both of my parents, no matter how crappy or how the situation might have felt like at times my mom seemed like she favored one of my sisters more than she favored me. That's natural. That's going to happen whether you did or you didn't. Guess what? That's a perception. It doesn't mean that you love one child more than another. In her case, her other 2 children feel like she has favored him, but that was only her overcompensating. And so you're all talking about the son not getting the good treatment, and it's like she's got the imbalance. But that's the reality of parenting now, isn't it? You can point fingers at what she did wrong. That's not what she asked for. We all make mistakes. But if you don't know better, you don't know how to do better. And once you do know better, you can do better. So stop pointing fingers. Because the reality is she's got an opportunity now to do the best she can for these last few years. I've read beautiful stories in there about how other people had these beautiful relationships blossom with their own parents or their own children as a result of what seemed like this monster-like relation. And see, the thing about teenagers is they're more influenced by their external. So depending on what their environment is like and the people they hang around, the parent really has no more influence over that at that point. So you can't just blame the child. And please stop pointing out how he needs to be with another family. Do you know what social services is like? Do you really know what those environments are like? Do you think they're better? Foster care. Do you know how many stories of abuse I've heard about? How many situations where children were just basically bopped around to different families? And you think that's better than living with the actual mom? Take your heads out of your butts, people. This is real life. Our systems in this country are not better. We're all doing the best we can. So now when someone offers advice or asks for advice in this group, the whole purpose of this group is to support one another. If you don't like it, don't even bother responding. Don't comment on something you don't believe in, you don't agree with, you don't have something nice to say. Because I'm sure you have struggles every day too, and you want support. This group is all about being there for one another. United we stand, divided we fall. That's what the problem with this country is. In this world. Everybody wants to say it's someone else's fault and pass off the buck of, responsibility. But we all have a moral obligation. We all have a responsibility. We are all here in it together. We can either work together or continue to fight, and that's what war is all about. Well, just because someone doesn't agree with you doesn't make them a bad person either. Doesn't mean you have to start World War III because you don't agree. I'm just saying, you want a good life? Live it well. Find the joy. Stop pointing fingers at everybody else doing, and stop playing the victim. Now that's easy to say. We all have our moments. I go through depression. I go through anxiety. I will come home with these grandiose ideas of what I'm going to do. And the next thing I know, I'm on the couch and I'm going, where did the day go? And I just don't feel like doing it now. That's been my reality for a few weeks now, and I admit that, and I'm good with it. I wasn't always good with it in the moment. I've already binge watched Grace and Frankie, this newest season. By the way, it was really good. I didn't like the ending. Just saying. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, loved it. We do what we do, but the awareness of it is even more powerful. Because when we can own our own shit, that's where we can grow. The fact that she wrote that post shows she cares. So I don't care what anybody else out there wants to say. She cares enough to reach out and ask for help. And I commend her on that. And I commend anybody who's willing to post anything in this group, specifically being vulnerable and sharing their truth. Because here's the problem. Women aren't supported to speak up. Men too. I'm just speaking from my own personal experience as a woman because that's all I know, like I said. But one of the problems in these environments, in this world, is you say I'm all here for you, I'm here to support you, but yet you're throwing somebody under the bus the moment they trigger an old pain trauma in you. You're supposed to be a certain way. Well, look at your old programming, because really, your old programming is dictating your behavior and your actions and your thoughts and everything that's coming out of you. So if your life is miserable, which may be the case in a lot of these posts, you might want to look at, well, maybe you're creating the misery by creating it for other people. When you're blaming and shaming someone else, you got 3 fingers back at you, baby. 1 out, 3 in. You got to look at that. That's humbling. Yeah, it's easy for me to see other people's stuff. Isn't it always easy to see everybody else's shit but your own? But guess what? If you're willing to confront that, sit with it and go, whoa, okay. Yeah, I am that too. That's my shit. I own it. One of the things I love about this Beyond Addiction program that I'm a part of is that's humbling. And some people will say, well, you need to admit when you're wrong. Depends on the circumstances and to who you're talking about. I will admit when I'm wrong, especially when I wrong myself. If I'm in a situation with someone else, and yes, I clearly am wrong, and it needs to be addressed, it should not be turned into a shame and blame game. In any relationship you're in and someone tries to use that as a controlling force of the conversation, shame and blame are manipulative in trying to get your way. If you're blaming and shaming someone else, you should really sit with the why. Why would you do that to somebody else? If you didn't want it done to you, why would you go there? I know you're all out there, you beautiful moms, and some of you struggling. And I see you because I know I listen to moms, friends, girlfriends, family, and I hear things like, I just want to run away. I just want to get away. I want to start a new life. Now, guess what? That's in the moment. Because just like her post, we women can amplify, and I know men, you do it too, where it sounds worse than it is. Where when we are struggling, honey, it's in the group. I'm posting in the group. When we are struggling in our lives and we get an ear to listen, what is the first thing we do, ladies? Bah, bah, bah. Phew. I feel so much better. I got all that projectile vomit out of myself. I'm one of them. When I'm with my girlfriends, or sometimes I just am just bah, 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 because I need to be heard. As a woman, I need a sounding board. I need willing ears to hold me in my situation, to hold the space for me. And I do the same for others. And that in itself, that's a true friend. Because they're not judging you. They're willing to hold you, and they're willing to listen to you in your hour of need. Now, if you don't have that out there, anybody out in this group, reach out to me. That's what the group is for. The reality is we all need someone who's willing to listen and not attack us for what we say. But always remember, when you are listening, that we amplify what is really going on within ourselves. So when we express ourselves, a lot of times we do go to the extremes. I'm just having the shittiest day. I just want to end my life. Do you think the person really means it? Only you know the person, and the person probably doesn't. Majority of the time, and I know this because I was like this when I was a child, person who really wants to commit suicide will be successful. But the ones that need your attention are telling you and giving you the signs. They're asking for help. Nobody really wants to die in that way. I know that from my childhood. But I also understand mental health is a situation where professionals need to be involved. I personally will never say that I know the answers because I don't. I'm navigating my life. There's not a person out there that knows the answers to everything. I don't care who you are. Nobody knows everything. Boy, if you do, I don't want to know about it because it will change in a heartbeat. So Carol says, am I wrong for right fighting where I see someone being attacked? Well, you can still be kind in the words that you choose. I believe it's very important, and if you're in this group, you're in this group for a reason. We're not just here to, oh yes, funny memes. We want a balance here, people. We want to see real life stories and see how you progress throughout your life. We want to be supportive of each other and uplifting so that you reach the success you're seeking. And that's what everybody is here for. We all deserve love. We all deserve happiness. It is our birthright. And again, just remember when people speak, we're all actors in some way, shape, or form, by the way. And sometimes our acting is to find ways, and it's not a bad form of manipulation all the time, but it can be, acting in a way that gets us attention because we didn't get the attention we needed when we were younger, whatever it is. So we share something with a little bit more emphasis because we need feedback to validate ourselves. Life is really us all playing a role, playing a game. Oh, and that's another thing I wanted to address. Tom, you'll appreciate this. When did playing games get turned into this negative connotation of, I don't play that game? I want to bring that up right now just because it popped up into my awareness. Because it's important to note that even children like to play, so do adults. And does anybody remember the little switch that happened when you became an adult? That all of a sudden playing games was a bad word? Like, oh, I don't play games. Excuse me? I like to play games. Like, fun games. But I dislike that the word game has now gotten this negative connotation. So consider that the next time someone says, I don't play games. Because first off, anybody who says I don't play games, they're playing a game right there. People tell you where they're at. People tell you and show you who they are through their words and actions. Specifically more their actions. The way that they show through both is the discord, the misalignment. I'm just saying. I'm exactly like you, Carol, and obviously I was feeling the same thing, that I could feel her pain and needed the need not to protect as much as to show the neutrality in that post. To be, I'm able to see both the child side, not necessarily in that same way as the son, but because I still remember what it was like as a child. I remember what it was like to manipulate. I remember what it was like to act a certain way to get attention. Now, did I do it all the time? No, because I also felt guilty as a child doing that too. But I also see from the mother's perspective, and mothers aren't allowed to feel that way. And I've heard it many a time. I've heard some even worse stuff from mothers and girlfriends that I'm just holding them because I know they don't really mean it all the time. And then in the moment that they express themselves, which is exactly what I'm talking about here, when someone expresses themselves, first off, they trust you. So she came here trusting this environment, trusting this group. I don't take that lightly. When someone has placed their trust in my ears, now I don't go around repeating all the stories that are told to me. You know, a lot of us, sometimes we also have, partnerships, intimate relationships and husbands and such, or wives. And we share that. And that's a touchy line too, because sometimes you don't want to do that. Because that was not that bubble. Like with my goddess girlfriends especially, there are things I do not repeat. Especially because it's in confidence and knowing they trust me. But I want you to understand that if someone is willing to trust you with their feelings, their deepest thoughts around their lives and what they're going through, that's sacred. That's sacred. And you need to treat it as such. Sacrifice is to make sacred. She has sacrificed herself in a way as a mother to be there in the best way she could. She has made she has done the best she could with what she had. Now what she's saying is she thought she could shake this. She thought she would grow into. And it's not to say she couldn't, because that's the conversation that was started, was that she could still regain a relationship with her son, and it can still be healed. And everybody needs some form of therapy, some form of healing work, modality, what have you. And by the way, I see you out there trying to say I'm self-promoting with my videos. By the way, my 40-day Rad Kundalini Yoga Challenge, Tom and I made this group, and that's on our Ridiculously Authentic page. If you are interested in trying Kundalini, I recommend it to everyone. Try it for yourself, because it's the yoga of awareness through your personal experience. And only you can do you. And when you do it, at least you can say, this was my experience. I offered that because it's free, not because I'm trying to sell anything. That's the irony, isn't it? So I really want people to just be much kinder, not just to each other, but to work on the kindness within. Because kindness starts with self. And we got to foster more compassion within so we can really cultivate a true passion that reaches out and helps and supports one another. Each one of us has a gift, and I guarantee whatever triggers you, therein lies your gift. Our biggest traumas and pains and sufferings in our past often are gifts without bows, as we say in Beyond Addiction. What that means is we don't realize the blessing that lies within all those struggles, all those times, until much later in life, when we move into wisdom, move into the wise self. You can amass tons of information, and information is shit if you don't apply it. If you can't integrate what you learn, then how do you think you're going to become wise? Wisdom comes with years. It comes with experience, integration of all the knowledge you claim to have. Some of us came in with some extra wisdom just being born into this world, that people will say, oh, what a wise old soul. That's a truth. It does exist. Guess what? The wiser you are, the more obliged you are to support and uplift one another. If you see someone else's faults and pains, guess what? Chances are you've been there. And you are in that really fine little window that says it's also now your obligation to show up for that person, to support them in that growth. You are not there to nitpick and attack them. Because the higher person, the wiser, higher, better person is the one that's willing to show up to adversity still with kindness, love. And love in action sometimes is in silence. Sometimes it's just letting people know you see them. So I see all of you and I love all of you. Every one of your comments, whether it was hateful, loving, mean, kind, uplifting, giving support, doesn't even matter. It's an opportunity for growth. Because there's wisdom in everything. Just whether or not you're willing to walk in hand with it. So have an amazing Sunday afternoon. I'm getting ready to teach. I'm finishing up some coffee kombucha. What time is it anyway? Oh yeah, I got about 20 minutes to walk, buddy. And I hope you have the rest of the evening. Reach out to me if you have any questions, comments, concerns. If someone's being unkind, flag their comment, or, send them kind words. Put comments on their comments. There was an old tribal way of handling blame and shame. And I learned this in my Beyond Addiction training. So when somebody messed up, instead of blaming, shaming, and making them feel bad, they would put them in the center of the circle. And everyone around the circle would come at them with everything wonderful about them and remind them why they are loved and why they're a good person and that you're good about this and this is this about you. All positive. Let's work on that. Let's cultivate that. Let's work on bringing up the positive. As my mom used to say, accentuate the positive, negate the negative. See, where attention goes, energy flows. And the more you're willing to find what you're grateful for, the more your life is going to be more magical. So let's do that for one another. If you see unkind comments, flood them with love. Flood them with what's positive about them, whatever it is you can find. Because chances are, any unkind words are really internally going at them even worse. Okay? So, share that pic, and I love you all. Be blessed.